Hello, this is David Birch at StarPath School of Navigation in Seattle with a note on a free Windows PC app that we have available called the StarPath True Wind. And it calculates true wind based on apparent wind and boat speed. And this one is assuming there's no current or leeway. And I'll come back to that. So here's what the icon looks like, this little guy, wind barb right here. And then we'll look at the program. Let's see. We'll look at the program. And again, this is just a free app you can download and install. It's also very small, about 460 kilobytes. And so it calculates true wind and, from apparent based on, or shows you this relationship. You can actually calculate either way with this device. And it shows you vectorially what things look like. So here is... here's the diagram, but let me not forget to do something. If you go up to the help and then help, click this item right there. Now that will bring up, that's installed with it. That's a PDF file that is a very detailed article about true wind. And this is something of apparent, we just found this recently, a couple of days ago. This actually we wrote apparently in year 2000. And it had gone missing for a while, but we finally found it again. So, but this is an article. You read this article. It's a download PDF article. How to use this True Wind product. Oh, look at that. I didn't know we were ever spelling the name that way with a capital P. That's weird. Then the definitions of true wind, apparent wind, all these angles and speeds, discussion, use of telltales, electronic instruments, and some of the really pros and cons about why this is important in your navigation. That's all discussed here. Then it goes through, this article goes through, here's the formulas you want to use if you want to program a calculator to calculate this stuff. There's that. And then it goes through step by step how to solve the vectors, triangles, by hand using a protractor and rulers. And so that's all included with this program. So here's the program, and that's the way it works. So you can see, you can move things around. This is the boat speed here, and any of these circles moves one of those, moves that circle. So you can change the wind speeds that way. The boat speed here is 5.6, 9.5 knots going that way. And this would be the true wind, and this is the apparent wind. And that you could put in over here. You could actually, numerically put in 12 for a boat speed of 7, and then say compute. And then once you have that, you can right-click and move everything to the center and so on. So you can either just drag these around to see how they behave. When you're going into the wind, what's this? I got 4 knots of true wind. I'm going 7 knots. So 7 and 4, I'll be getting 11 knots of apparent wind. I'm going right straight into it. And then you're going straight downwind here. So I've got a true wind of about, here's maybe 14 knots, 13 knots of wind, and I'm going 7 knots, but I only feel 7 knots of apparent wind, and so forth. So this is a pretty handy tool. You can also see, for example, that the biggest difference between apparent wind and true wind happens when one of them's on the beam. So here is now like a true wind on the beam. That looks like that. And here's one with the apparent wind on the beam. And so forth. Here, just a little bit aft, just a little bit forward. So anyway, it's a nice tool to play with. However, a reminder, and this just changes the scale if you're trying to work problems with different magnitudes of speeds to get them all on this little graph. And so that's that. But again, a reminder, this is only with assumes there's no leeway and no current. So your cog and sog are essentially the same as your heading, your course, your heading, and your boat speed. Now, when those start to differ, then this is a more complicated computation to get right. And also, you have to take into account that the polar diagrams are define a true wind differently than the meteorologist. Meteorologist identifies a true wind relative to the ground, the earth, fixed earth. And polar diagrams and sail performance analysis defines the wind speed relative to the water. So you have to gets more complicated. And we have addressed that in our new book. Let me see. I thought I had a way here to show that. Yeah, maybe here. Oh, okay. So here's our new book, Modern Marine Weather. It just came out. And then there is a whole section on true wind and apparent wind because it's so important. But in the back, we go into the sort of the complicated. Oh, okay. So where was that? That's in Appendix 9, Nuances of True Wind. And that is starting here. And then, so then we start out with some of the harder things that, for example, when your boat's heeled over, that affects the apparent wind speed and the apparent wind angle. So we have to correct for that first. Then I correct for that. Then we deal with this, the ground wind versus water wind. That's to do the polars versus a meteorologist, sailors versus meteorologists. And then we show in detail here then how to correct this one. It looks like it's correcting for leeway only. And then we go on here. Now we're correcting for leeway and current and everything, and so forth. So this all has gone through in detail there. Oh, anemometer height. Now that's another subtlety. Again, this all gets, the more you get into it in the details, it gets more subtle. This is then shows how to correct it, because all the correct the wind speed for the height of your anemometer, like your wind meter could be up at your height H, but all your references of the wind speeds on the forecasts in your grid files and weather maps and forecast, they're all at 33 feet, 10 meters. So when you want to compare those, you have to correct what you measure down to this, and the formulas are in there for that. Anyway, those are the details. The main thing is that very neat little program that you can play with. Just do true wind and from apparent wind without leeway or current, and that's in the maybe I didn't show where to get it. Let me quick show you where to get it. That would be a bummer. Starpath.com. Go to Downloads, and in the Downloads folder, Miscellaneous Resources, Starpath True Wind, and that will download the install file. So you click that, download that to your desktop on a PC, Windows computer, any version of Windows, doesn't matter, and then just execute this, and that'll be the installer, and that'll install that little program. And it has in the folder where it installs it, it has an uninstall file. It's a very uninvasive program. That's the end. Thanks.